Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nickel City Mafia channel. Man, I'm so excited. Football is back, and last night we had the Bills playing Detroit, in Detroit. And I'm going to give you some notables that I came away with on both offense, defense, special teams, and then talk about any injuries. Before I get into that, I know the Bills game was super close, 16 to 15, but it was not as exciting and close as my son's first championship game in flag football today. Jonah, congratulations. Jonah was able to catch the winning extra point and making it a 13-12 victory. Came down right to the end. Both teams, it was just super exciting. All the families got into it. So congrats, Jonah. I know he'll be super. He wanted me to show this off. So there you go. All right, so let's talk about it, folks. 16 to 15, close game. Came right down to the end. As far as the preseason game, if you get excited for preseason games like I do, because this is the time to kind of, look at the talent, look at those new guys that we've signed, who's going to make the rosters, or the roster, who's going to make it. So this is what I love about it. And then it made it interesting that the game came right down to the wire. So let's talk about some of the notables. And then I'd love to hear your notables as well. If you're listening in on the channel right now, or if you watch it later on, talk to me. Who stood out to you? I would love to know. So let's talk about some of the things that I witnessed. I've watched this thing a couple times now. By the way, NFL Total Access has a package where you can replay these games after. Watch all the preseason games and then replay all games. And they do it play by play. So you take a 3-hour game down to 40 minutes and you're able to kind of watch every play. And it cuts out all those, the waiting maybe between plays, timeouts, all that good stuff. So super cool feature. And it allowed me to watch this twice so that I can really kind of see who stood out to me. So here we go. Notables on offense. Davis Webb. I mean, I didn't know anything about Davis Webb. Here he is. He shows up, goes for 11-16 for 90 yards and a touchdown. So I started doing a little research. Who's Davis Webb? And what I found out is pretty interesting. So I'll share that with you real quick. I mean, when you look at his size, he's roughly 6'5". His weight is roughly right around Josh Allen's. His speed is right around Josh Allen's. You saw him run a little bit yesterday. He's a little slower than Josh. He weighs a little bit less, and I mean just a little bit less. Same height. Obviously, he doesn't have the arm strength that Josh has, but I mean, he looked pretty good yesterday, right? And you're thinking, where did this kid come from? Well, he was a third-round pick by the Giants in 2017, and he was the 87th overall in that draft. He's really never been given a chance by anybody. So even though he had high praise on the Giants that year from a lot of his teammates, they just never worked him in. Interesting fact about him, in 2014, he was the starter in college for Texas Tech. Guess who his backup was? Some guy, I don't know, Patrick Mahomes, some guy like that. I think I've heard of that guy. Anyhow, Patrick Mahomes became the starter in 2015, and Davis Webb backed him up. Davis Webb later on transferred to the University of California and had a pretty damn good year throwing the ball. So check out the stats between Josh and Davis Webb for the college, and you'll see that Davis Webb had a better pass completion percentage than Josh did. Interesting stuff. But anyhow, I will say this. I mean, Mitch, 1 for 2 on for 10 yards. I hope they allow him to throw the ball a little bit more because this guy needs to be ready to go if Josh goes down for any reason. And I didn't like how they just didn't open it up a little bit for him to get used to the offense. So I hope to see more of that from Mitch in the next couple games. Anyhow, right now, edge goes to Davis Webb for the guy that I want to come and replace in Josh if he happened to go down. Hopefully that never happens, but you need to be prepared. Anyhow, Singletary was Singletary, right? I mean, he does what he does. He's an above average back. He runs the ball. He runs forward. He seems to always get positive yardage. I was impressed. I've always been impressed with Singletary. What happened, though, is with Zach Moss coming into play and them starting to split the carries, I think that changed Singletary, and he hasn't been the same since. So Moss, who can't seem to stay healthy, I think we're going to see the same pattern this year. Again, I'm sure Moss will be back at some point, but he cannot stay healthy. The guy gets on the field for a game and he's injured again. So we brought in Matt Breida. I have Matt Breida on here as a notable, but only because he had 12 touches and really didn't impress me much. So anyhow, Matt Breida, he has speed. He can catch the ball. I'm sure he'll adapt to the offense, and we'll see more out of him. But I wasn't impressed, and that's the only reason he made my notable for this game. Marquise Stevenson. This is a guy I've been talking about a lot since the draft. I got excited about him. A speedster, wide receiver. And I was excited about him because we lost Andre Roberts last year. We lost Andre Roberts, who is a he was a all-pro returner, right? That's a huge person to lose. So I was super excited for him because he could actually help fill that void. And we saw that yesterday. I mean, of course, it was in the fourth quarter, and he had 3 returns for 75 yards, something like that. But he's a speedster, and he could fill that void. Whether he makes the team, I don't know. But I brought him up here on notables for offense because he was the star of that game, right? In the fourth quarter, I think he had all 3 of his catches in the fourth quarter. 3 catches for 50 yards, and the big one coming on 4th and 10. Looked like we were done. They go deep to him down the sideline. He makes the catch, and boom, we go on, get a few more yards, and then our reliable kicker, Mr. Bass, comes in and shuts the door. So, again, Marcus Stevenson, it's going to be super tough to make this lineup as a receiver. Obviously, we have so much depth there, but he could help on the special teams. And with a guy with this type of speed, and he showed me he had hands. Those throws to him were, I mean, they weren't just soft throws to him. You have to have hands. He was moving quickly, and it was solid. So we'll see. If he has a couple more games like this, it's going to be hard to let him go. So we'll see what happens there. Also, I want to talk a little bit about Tommy Sweeney. It was good to see him back. I mean, he had 2 catches for 34 yards, I believe. But, you know, if you remember his story, right, he got COVID and then got this, I don't know if I want to call it a disease, or got this condition called, because of the virus, called myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart, which caused him to miss the whole year. So he's back, and I'm super hopeful that he can add to our tight end position and give us a playmaking skill position right there, because we've been lacking that. Knox, to me, just hasn't stepped up. I don't know how many more opportunities we're going to give to Knox, but that's who we have. But Sweeney, I'll tell you, whenever he's in there, he's solid, great hands, and I'm happy to see him back. So welcome back, Sweeney. And like I said, Matt Breida, again, I already talked about him. So let's get into the defensive notables for me, and there's quite a few, and some special team notables as well. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Rousseau, man, gets off to a good start, gets his first sack in his first preseason game, and he looked explosive. That long reach is going to wreak havoc during the season. But I do want to bring it back just a little bit and talk about that sack. So Rousseau was going against the 7th overall pick in the draft this year by Detroit, Penei Sewell. He was the first round pick for them, 7th overall. Now that guy is a natural left tackle in college. That's all he played. So he's getting used to a new position. They want him to play right tackle. So he's over there. He did a good job on Rousseau most of the time. This was the one time Rousseau got the better of him. Rousseau got one other tackle, but for the most part, Rousseau was pretty quiet after that sack. Now, he was in there a good amount of times. I think I saw him playing through the second quarter. And a lot of times it was just a quick hitting play, so it was not really an opportunity for him to get any additional sacks. But anyhow, nice start. Let's see what he can do in the next 2 or 3 games as well, in the preseason games. Daryl Johnson had 2 tackles, and he played mostly in the second half. I think he only played in the second half. But anytime he was in there, he was putting constant pressure when he was in there, and he was really stood out to me. So remember, the Bills drafted him in 2019 in the 7th round, and maybe this is his year where he takes the next step and he elevates his game. I mean, all signs are pointing there, but I was super impressed. Every time he was in, he seemed to be putting pressure, because Detroit was having to throw quite a bit when he was in there, and he was always getting back there. So let me know what you thought on Daryl Johnson. Andre Smith, oh my God. I mean, to me, he was the standout of the game, and I'll tell you why. He had 6 tackles, 2 assists. I mean, he had that interception that was called back. He was all over the field, and he contributes on special teams. That's why the Bills had him last year. He did make some appearances at linebacker when the Bills were blowing people out. But the guy was, I mean, all over the field. I mean, in every frame when he was in there, I would see him right near the ball and making plays. So, little information about him. You have to remember he was recently signed to a 2-year extension this year. He was originally drafted by Carolina in the 7th round in the 2018 draft. And what's funny is the Bills traded for him last year in the 220 last year in 2020 for a 2023 7th round pick. So interesting, right? Carolina drafts him in the 7th. They get a 7th round pick in return in the trade. We go ahead and we waive him, and then a day later we sign him to the practice squad, and he was activated 3 times during the season, and then eventually he was added to the active roster in October. And again, he played a total of 4 games last year, mostly on special teams, and he'll continue to play special teams, and I think he'll be a big impact player there. And but he also can play the linebacker spot. You should have saw that last night as well. So I was impressed with him. To me, he gets the game ball from me if I'm giving out game balls. And so let's see where he goes. But all things are bright there to me. Then we got to talk about Damar Hamlin. All right, so Damar Hamlin was let me get here, let me bring you some of my data points here. So he was our 6th round pick, right, from Pittsburgh. And this guy was super impressive yesterday. He was all over the field on both defense and offense. He was credited with a tackle and assist, I think. And they have him credited with a sack. Now, I've watched this game multiple times, as I said earlier. I can't find where that sack is. So I don't know if it's an error or if he got some crazy credited a sack for something weird that happened. I don't know. If you saw it, please let me know because I'm trying to find it. Anyhow, he was all over the field, both on special teams and defense, and he definitely defended the pass well at times. So super impressed with him. Adding to our safety depth is always a good thing, and considering what I saw, and this guy's just a rookie, I mean, he had a good grade coming out of the draft as well. So I was super impressed with him and super happy with what I saw on the field yesterday. So let's talk about Elijah Griffin. You're like, Elijah Griffin? Who the hell is Elijah Griffin? Well, I have a soft spot for him. So does my son. Interesting story about Elijah is that my son and I, we live in Southern California now. I grew up in Buffalo, but I'm out here in Southern California now. And we went to one of my son's flag football games. It was at a different place that we normally played because the other field was rained. It had rained the previous night, and it couldn't have anybody playing on that field. So we moved it to a new location. I walk up to the game, and I see this, the game before us. There's this gentleman in Bills gear, and I'm always walking up to people that are in Bills gear, introducing myself and get a little back story on them. And I walk up to him and I say, "Hey, I see you sporting the colors. I was born and raised in Buffalo, super big Bills fan. What's your connection?" And he's like, "I was just drafted, undrafted free agent out of USC." I said, "Wow, awesome. I mean, what position do you play?" He told me he played cornerback. And he was super nice to my son, and I took a picture, and I actually talked about that in a stream I did weeks ago. So we have a soft spot. He was in there in the 4th quarter, number 37, and he was credited with 2 tackles. He did get a penalty on him, and he also got beat on a slot play late in the game, which was a big play for Detroit. But again, I mean, he's given it his all. I hope and pray that he makes it. Maybe with the Bills, it'd be great to see that underdog somehow get into that final roster spot. But odds are it's not going to happen. But I hope he impresses enough folks that if he gets a chance, somebody else will sign him. And I think he will. I think he'll be super successful. He's got some decent speed, got some decent size, and he was a high recruit to USC. So he was very good there, and we'll see what happens. And anyhow, a fun fact about him is that his dad is rapper Warren G. Hopefully, all you know about Warren G. Regulators mount up. Let's go, Buffalo. Come on, you've got to be excited about Regulators mount ups. Check out um, that song. Also, he's the nephew of Dr. Dre. So cool little background story. Imagine if he made the team. Maybe we can get Warren G putting something up on the scoreboard there in Buffalo and putting some new song together for us. How exciting would it be? Anyhow, that's why I have him on noted on here, and only for that reason. And then Marky Stevenson again on here because he contributed on the special teams. He returned 3 for 75 yards. He's got the wheels. He can contribute here. I didn't see anything from the other returners. I think obviously the Bills are. Let me make sure I say his name here. Remember, we lost Andre Roberts, and let me just give me a second here, folks. I don't like to get folks' names wrong, so let me go to my stats here and bring that up. Anyhow, don't have it. I don't want to waste your time. Isaiah McKenzie is in line to take that spot for Andre Roberts, and I don't know. I don't know if he can do it. I mean, everyone says he'll be the person, but anyhow, Stevenson's the guy that I think could potentially threaten for that spot. And then, of course, Tyler Bass. He's always solid, right? 3 for 3, winning field goal at the end of the game. So, all good things for him. So, nothing to worry about there. And notable injuries, good news. No big injuries. Antonio Williams had to leave with a stinger. Isaiah Hodgkins was forced out. They didn't really mention what the injury was that forced him out, so hopefully that's not too serious, which I don't think it will be. But anyhow, that's pretty much everything that I took from the game. So again, it's hard to get, it's hard to find guys that stand out because they're rotating so many players in and out, trying to get these youngsters in and get a sense for how they're doing, if we should move forward with them. I mean, we have to go down to 85 players, I believe, from 90 within the next few days. So we'll probably see a few cuts. I don't think it'll be any of the guys I mentioned, I hope, but who knows? And then we have at least another week before we have to make additional cuts. So we have 5 that we have to cut before, I think, the 17th. And then after next week, we have to get down to 80, I believe. And then obviously the August 31st is when we have to get down to the 53-man roster. So that's going to be super interesting. That's why I love these preseason games. I'm cheering for those Elijah Griffins. I'm cheering for the guys that back a couple months ago when I started this channel, I did a stream about the draft picks that Buffalo had. And, I'm cheering for some of those guys that I talked about and thought were going to do well. Marky Stevenson is one of those guys. So anyhow, what I would love from you guys is let me know what you thought of the game, who stood out to you. Please leave a comment. If you like what you see, hit the like button, hit the subscription button. We'd love to have you come back for more. And again, please comment. I love meeting new people, and I've met so many new people. Bills Mafia are all over. Again, I talk about Sabres as well. Sabres fans all over. So I love meeting you. That's how I meet you. And again, you can reach me. I show there on my overlay there all the places you can reach out to me. And again, tomorrow I'm doing something different, totally off brand. I've been doing this now for about 2.5 months. And I'm going to share some secrets, tips, basically, not secrets, but just some tips and things that I've struggled with for those first 2.5 months with new streamers. So if you're a new streamer, new content creator, and you are thinking about getting started or just starting out, I think I can give you a few things that might help you save some time. Definitely, I spend a lot of time finding some of these things. Also want to mention that we do more than just shows on the weekend. Again, my weekend shows are all about Buffalo, everything Buffalo. But during the week, we do a golf show. We do a golf betting show and a DraftKings show, and that's on Tuesday nights at 8. We've had 2 shows now of fantasy football. Everybody should be gearing up for fantasy football. We have a great in-depth show a couple weeks ago, so check that out. We had a fun show. Phone a friend. If you just don't know who to pick, you're struggling with a couple of these fantasy football guys you just don't know what to do with, pick up the phone and phone a friend. We had some fun with that just this past week. That was on Wednesday. And we're going to continue to do more fantasy football shows. We got Tony Altieri, we got Rick Mukherjee, and we got Chris Caldwell on this channel, and they bring you some great content. So check those guys out during the week. I'm just behind the scenes. They make it easy for me. But on the weekends, this is me. So again, thank you all for joining me. I want to hear from you. Please tell me who stood out to you guys, and let's have a little talk about it. I'm always available. You want to reach out to me, you have questions about anything, just reach out to one of those social media platforms, and or comment in one of my streams and let me know you want to be contacted. I will reach out to you immediately and help you, or just converse with whatever you want to talk about. So everybody, have a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Actually, I'll see you tomorrow for some of you, but anyhow, we'll see you during the week as well. Bye now.